Mr. Speaker, we have revised the natural reports to Parliament within 3 years, all revenue flowing into the Natural Resources Fund Act, Natural Resource Fund account. Mr. Speaker, and if the minister don't report to the National Assembly, there is a penalty of 10 years in jail. And that is accountability, Mr. Speaker. Not like the 18 million bonus, not like the 18 million bonus that was kept in secrecy for over 1 year. And only when we came to Parliament and we started to ask questions, we heard from the former finance minister that he thought it was a gift. He thought it was a gift, and that it is in a special account, that it is in a special account in the US for money to help to fight for our territorial integrity. Mr. Speaker, up to today, there is so much secrecy surrounding that 18 million signing bonus. And today, the very members come to Parliament and boast about the PSA that they signed, and boast about the PSA that they signed. So, Mr. Speaker, we are serious about transparency and accountability. That today, every single Guyanese, any ordinary Guyanese, can know how much money will flow from the Natural Resource Fund account into the national budget. And they will know how much will flow next year and the other year. That is transparency. That is accountability. Mr. Speaker, we put into that Natural Resource Fund Act that any approval of spending from the Natural Resource Fund Act must be approved by the National Assembly, and that is why we are here today. That is why we are here today, to approve the money that is flowing from the Natural Resource Fund Act into the national budget. And then next week you will have a chance to question it. Next week you will have a chance to question every single project, so you have proper insight as to where the money is flowing and what it will be spent on. Mr. Speaker, that is transparency and accountability that we promise to the people of this country. Not hiding an 18 million signing bonus. Mr. Speaker, we promise that we are going to manage the oil and gas sector in a manner that every single Guyanese will benefit. And we are serious about that, because we have been hearing over the last 3 days, and even will only benefit, or their programs will only benefit their friends, families, and I think the word now is favorites. But Mr. Speaker, I would like to add another one to that. The PPP programs and policies will benefit the friends, the families, the favorites, and our new friends. Our new friends are your supporters who are coming over to the PPP Civic now and who are supporting the PPP Civic now. Like the people in Linden, like the people in Barbies who are supporting us now, they are our new friends, and they will benefit from Budget 2023 like every other Guyanese. Like every other Guyanese. So, Mr. Speaker, if they're saying that our friends is the 9,000 discipline services who benefit from the salary adjustment, yes, they're our friends. Mr. Speaker, if they're saying that the 5,000 health workers who will benefit from the adjustment in salary are our friends, yes, they're our friends. Mr. Speaker, if they say that the public servants who benefit from an 88% increase in salary retroactive in 2022 are friends, they are our friends. And they are benefiting further from an increase in the threshold to 85%, they are our friends, Mr. Speaker. If returning the 1 month tax-free bonus to the discipline service make them our friends, they are our friends, Mr. Speaker. If we took off tax on fuel, one of the few countries in this world, and Mr. Speaker, I did a simple Google this morning to check the price of fuel in New York City, one of the greatest cities in the world. It is almost the same price as Guyana. Almost the same price of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, we took off all taxes on fuel so that the loggers can benefit, so that the miners can benefit, so that the farmers can benefit, so that the commuters can benefit, and those are all our friends, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 214,000 school children will benefit from an increase in the cash grant in 2023. $40,000 including the uniform allowance. And those students and their parents are our friends. They are our friends, Mr. Speaker. Part-time jobs, Mr. Speaker, and a lot has been said about part-time jobs. And I just want to speak briefly on part-time jobs because over 10,000 Guyanese are benefiting from the part-time jobs today, and they are our friends too. And Mr. Speaker, we have heard so much about the part-time jobs from the opposition, but what was your alternative in government? What did you do for the people when you were in government? Imagine we have employed over 10,000 people who are unemployed, mostly women. Mostly women. What did you do for them? Nothing. Nothing. But you come here and you talk about $40,000. $40,000 is better than nothing. We are doing that. And the part-time job was never meant to keep these people in part-time forever. It is a transition. It is a springboard. It is a stepping stone for them to at least get something now until they move on, until they get a gold scholarship and elevate themselves and acquire a better job, until they can find a job in the oil and gas sector after they are trained at the Port Morant Oil and Gas Institute. So this is just a springboard, Mr. Speaker. It is just a springboard. And to help with the increase in cost of living, I will speak on that a little later, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me just give you a quick breakdown. Because there have been a lot said that all the part-time jobs is only the PPP supporters, is only the friends and cronies that are getting it. And I decided that I'm going to look at one region alone in the interest of time, my time.
Thank you.
And I choose Region 6 because Mr. Ramjatan, the honorable member, know that Region 6 is a predominantly PPP region. He knows that. He's from there. I'm from there too. He knows that the region is also predominantly Indo-Guyanese too. That is a fact. That is a fact. And I did a quick breakdown, Mr. Speaker. In Region 6, the population ratio of Afro-Guyanese is 21%. The population of Indo-Guyanese is 66% in Region 6. The part-time workers in Region 6 that are currently employed, Afro-Guyanese, 1,719, representing 41%. 41%, Mr. Speaker, 41%. And mind you, the Afro-Guyanese population in Region 6 is 21%. But in employ is 41%. And Indo-Guyanese, 2,239, 54%, Mr. Speaker. 54%, and the Indo-Guyanese population in Region 6 is 66%. So when you come here and you talk about racism and favoritism and cronyism, this is the facts. This is the facts, Mr. Speaker. And that is what you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear the facts. You come here and you try to distort the facts. You come here and I've listened, and most of the presenters, you came here with a hate speech. With a speech of gloom and doom. Mr. Speaker, we expected that from the opposition members. We expected that from you because you're still licking your wounds from being in the opposition. You're still licking your wounds that you only had 5 short years. The mighty AP and UFC was overthrown by the PPP civic government. That was destroyed by the PPP civil government in just one term in office. In 3 years, we had a successful no confidence motion against you. So we expect you to come here with hate speeches. We expect that. We didn't expect you to come all lovey-dovey to us. Mr. Speaker, but I want to say to you that while you probably hate us, the people out there love us. The people out there love us. Go on the president's Facebook page and you will see when he's in Linden, he has a bigger crowd than the honorable opposition leader. When he is in Albaiston, he has a bigger crowd than the honorable opposition leader. Go and you will see it. Go and you will see it. This is the fact, Mr. Speaker. This is the fact. This is the fact. And if we are going to do a rating, you will see that he's one of the most liked presidents in the history of our country. In the history of our country. In just a short 2.5 years. 2.5 years, he still gets 7.5 more to go. Mr. Speaker, as I continue, because they speak about family and friends and our new friends. Well, we have over 70,000 senior citizens as our friends who will benefit from an increase in pension. Mr. Speaker, VAT-free on mining and logging equipment, agricultural equipment and machinery, VAT off education, medical supplies, food supplies, and the honorable member that just spoke, Mr. Speaker, spoke about the light bill and the water bill. Mr. Speaker, it takes a lot, as we say in Guyana, it takes a lot of guts to come to the National Assembly and speak about the light bill and water bill when you put VAT on light and water. When you put VAT on light and water. And when we are trying to bring down the cost of electricity in this country, you are criticizing the gas to energy project every single day, and we'll hear that from my honorable friend.
Minister, if you speak to me, then I didn't put no VAT on anything, and the honorable Schumann is in that all so I don't know he put anything on anything too.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish at this point in time to respond to a few misrepresentations. And this one here, Mr. Speaker, I consider this one as an excuse for the incompetence, as an excuse for not delivering to the people of Guyana during their term in office in 2015-2020. And Mr. Speaker, I think we have heard it from about 3 or 4 members already on the opposition side. We have heard it from the honorable member, Mr. Ramjatan, the honorable member, Shawrin Holder, and I think few other members mention it. Mr. Speaker, the new excuse to the people of this country is that they didn't have oil and gas money when they were in government. They didn't have oil and gas money when they were in government. So that is their new excuse to the people of this country. Oh, we couldn't do that because we didn't have oil and gas money. Oh, the PPP can do that now because they have new revenue coming in. Mr. Speaker, may I remind this House that from 1992 to 2015, we didn't have no oil and gas money. We didn't have no oil and gas money, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the very member, the Honorable Ramjatan was part of the PPP in 1992. So he knew the state of this country when we took it over. When Comrade Chetty took it over as president, he was part of the PPP. So he knew the state, and he knew what we did. He knew what we did over those 23 years with limited resources, prudent management, and prioritizing our developmental projects to ensure that Guyana is what it is today. To ensure that Guyana is what it is today. And I say that because after 2015, we have not seen any progress up to 2020, Mr. Speaker. And the progress that we have seen over the last 2 years, Mr. Speaker, the oil money and start spending really yet. It is this year budget that you will see more oil money going into the budget. Mr. Speaker, for the record, Mr. Speaker, in 2015, $221 billion. 2016, $230 billion. 2017, $250 billion. 2018, $267 billion. 2019, $300 billion. 2020, $329 billion, most of which was spent by the AP and UAFC after they lost the election and refused to come out of office. Mr. Speaker, that total almost $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion the AP and UFC spent. And what do we have? What do you have to show for it? What do you have to show for it? Where can we point us in the direction? Point us in the direction where we can go and see our achievement. Point, please. Can we go to the monument in Madhya? Can we go to the Durban Park? Where can we go to see one single project? One single project that the AP and UAFC spent $1.5 trillion. But Mr. Speaker, you know, the money went, Mr. Speaker, the money went to traveling and traveling. As we say in Barbies, the Honorable know, as we say in Barbies, traveling with your Marriott, traveling with your Nami, traveling with your Marriott. Mr. Speaker, they stop the cash grant and they start buying more food and refreshment. The AP and UFC start buying more food and refreshments for themselves. Fancy vehicles, fancy offices, and still they sent home over 7,000 sugar workers, sent home over 2,000 CSOs, sent home a number of public servants, and they're saying that today. And the capital budget decreases every single year. Mr. Speaker, if they're claiming that oil and gas is the only revenue now, Mr. Speaker, in 2015 to 2020, the AP and UAFC killed almost every single productive sector in this country. Almost every single productive sector in this country. An honorable member, Mr. Speaker, I would know. The Ministry of Natural Resources manages most of the productive sectors. Where was agriculture? Where was agriculture under the AP and UAFC? Where was agriculture under the AP and UAFC? It's a racist private business. It's a racist private business. Mr. Speaker, what did they do to bauxite? Honorable Member Sears spoke, and we talked about this beer face thing, spoke about Rusal, that the government is not engaging Rusal to reopen. But may I remind the Honorable Member, Mr. Speaker, they closed down Manchur, they pushed Rusal out of operation. The AP and UAFC pushed Rusal out of operation, putting over 500 persons in the Kokwani Aichuni area out of jobs, and another 100 in New Amsterdam who was working with the oil and gas transshipment point at the mouth of Barbies River. Over 600 workers, and most of them are their supporters, Mr. Speaker. Most of them are their supporters. And then today they come war because there were new friends now. Because there were new friends now. And if we can talk, I say my honorable friend, Mr. Speaker, Ricky, is smiling because he knows that I'm coming to the forestry sector. The forestry sector, Mr. Speaker, when we left in 2015, was a violent sector in 2015, bringing in revenue, export revenue to this country. When we took over in August 2020, Mr. Speaker, it was bankrupt. They owed utility for 2 months. Still trying to before 13.4% growth rate in the forestry sector this year, Mr. Speaker. 13.4% increase in this year. 13.5% growth rate. It equates to over 50,000 cubic meter increase in production. 50,000 at a value of $2 billion Guyanese dollars. That is what the forestry sector is doing today. And you destroyed, the AP and UFC government destroyed the forestry sector, Mr. Speaker. And if I may come to GGMC, Mr. Speaker, a quick look at GGMC. When we left, and this is in the records, I can hand it over to you, Mr. Speaker. When we left in 2015, in the accounts of GGMC, there was over $24 billion. A lot of people don't know this. There was over $24 billion. Mr. Speaker, when we took over by government in August of 2020, there was $11 billion. $11 billion. $15 billion plus board is in billions of overdraft. billions of overdraft, Mr. Speaker. That is their legacy. That is their legacy, Mr. Speaker. That is their legacy, Mr. Speaker. And today they come here with the excuse, we did not oil revenue. But if you don't have oil revenue, you have to incentivize the other productive sectors, like we are doing now. You have to grow the other productive sectors. Bauxite increased by 35%, diamonds by 85%, forestry by 34%, aggregates by 20%. You have to incentivize and grow the other productive sectors, but what did you do? You did the opposite. And today you come here crying crocodile tears. We didn't have carbon credits money. Mr. Speaker, on to another sore point that the opposition keep mentioning over, the AP and UAFC keep mentioning over and over, and that is cost of living. And the way in which is mentioned in this National Assembly is as this is inflicted upon the people of Guyana by the government of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, there is a global crisis. There is a global crisis. Apparently the AP and UAFC is still in that balloon. The AP and UAFC is still locked in the balloon that they don't know what is happening outside of them. Mr. Speaker, we are witnessing a severe shortages of basic commodities. As a matter of fact, that we still have in Guyana. When many countries there are severe shortages, we are seeing the economic impact of COVID now, and the war did not help. The war did not help. And it is very strange that it should be a learned member of this National Assembly speaking of a bore and bike. Mr. Speaker, it comes from gas. They got to use fuel to drive it to the market. The war carry up oil and gas price. We know that. The fisherman that use fuel for go the assembly and ask about bygone and the exact attitude why AP and UFC into the opposition. Reformed, or apparently they're still stuck in the balloon, the cocoon. Mr. Speaker, and they criticize the part-time. The part-time job is a way of cushioning it. They criticize when many countries cannot do that. We are doing it in a small developing country. Cash grant to children, the pensioners, the children with disabilities, the sugar workers, the fishermen, the farmers, flood relief for household, COVID cash grant. Living, Mr. Speaker. When many countries couldn't do it, we did it. When many countries couldn't afford to remove tax off fuel, we did it in this country. For our friends, our families, our favorites, and our new friends. Which is all of Guyana. And Mr. Speaker, we heard about reckless spending on capital projects and illegal transactions. Mr. Speaker, let them point us to one capital project that Guyana does. We can go to the urban park and then the capital project. Mr. Speaker, how can you tell the people who have to commute to Demerara Harbour Bridge every single day, spending over 1 hour, that... Mr. Speaker, how can you say this resident? How can you say is reckless? How can you say to the people on the East Bank that the new East Bank, the 2 new highways on the East Bank, is reckless spending? How can you say to the people of this now that was the people of this country that building 5 new hospitals is reckless spending? Building a specialty hospital for children and mother is reckless spending. Mr. Speaker, how can you say to the people of Barbies building a highway or improving the highway from New Amsterdam to Molson Creek, recapping and expanding our people in Region 9 that building the Linden, to the people in Guyana that building a refinery in Guyana is reckless spending? How can you say to the people in Guyana that the NGL plant that we will bring, that bill that will bring down the cost of cooking gas is reckless spending, Mr. Speaker? The only reckless thing that we have here is the opposite, Mr. Speaker. With the honorable MP, Ms. MacDonald, spoke glowingly. We should spend a little more time to work with the system, educating our young population alone. It is the task of all of us in this country. Just parents' responsibility to the children. So when you come here and you hold senior position and you criticize the education system, you're criticizing yourself too. Mr. Speaker, was mentioned by the honorable member with regards to the Minister of Education. One, the Minister of Education went to New Amsterdam and tell teachers that if Kaicho News off on a policy miss school. Mr. Speaker, I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Speaker. The deputy head of QC wrote and said he is no longer pursuing the matter. I have those letters that I will.
Honourable Minister, you have to get an extension to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I would love my colleague to continue speaking for a long, long time, but I do ask for an extension for him to conclude.
Mr. Teixeira, 5 minutes to conclude your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will now deal with the oil and gas sector, because there have been so much said about the oil and gas sector by so many. Let me remind this House that the exploration contract signed between the government of Guyana and ExxonMobil was signed in 1999 by the then President Janet Jagan. Mr. Speaker, from December 29th, FPSO 1,000 barrels per day, and we are well on course, Mr. Speaker, to achieve the 1 from today. Already we have issued a production license, 1,000 barrels added to our production with our international project, and once petrol 850,000 barrels per day. and already there are indications that the whiptail coming on stream at least by 2026. 1 million barrel per day, Mr. Speaker. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. Has never happened in this world anywhere. All of us, because blessed country of the natural resources. Our bauxite is the best, and our forest is our national treasure. Our forest is our national treasure. Mr. Speaker, we are blessed that 86% of Guyana is covered in forests. We are blessed that we can earn a minimum of $750 million US from 30% of our carbon credits only. And that is why I say we are a blessed country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, we will continue Mr. Parliament from 2016, and I've heard so much talk from the government of the day then about forest oil. But what was done? What framework was in place to manage the sector? NRF that gives the minister all the power to determine how to spend the money, a local content policy in favor of the international. Speaker, we move towards having a local content legislation in place. And today we have seen over 600 Guyanese companies. Over 600 Guyanese companies registered with the local content secretariat, bringing in over $700 million in 2022. Getting the oil companies to unbundle their services in it. Days, we would have achieved that in 1 year, Mr. Speaker. In 1 year. And we made a reassess our capacity to amend schedule to add services from those, to those 40 that already exist, and to increase the targets that are already there in those 40. But it is based on our capacity. It is based, of course, we will hold consultations to ensure that is done. Mr. Speaker, we have heard so much about the environment and what needs to be done. But Mr. Speaker, when the leaser license was issued, the 25-page leaser license was issued, one, it was never made public. Two, there was no provision for flaring in it. There was no provision as to how you deal with the APNU AFC issued a 20 years environmental permit, which is illegal, and the Attorney General went to court to ensure that we correct your wrong and issue a 5-year permit, because you need to do reassessment and studies to ensure that you can issue a further license. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, and they speak about oil spill, but what was done as preventative measures to oil spill? We have training by the CDC ongoing on the FPSO. Today, Mr. Speaker, that we strengthen the oil and gas sector so that there is proper accountability and transparency, and that the monies from the oil and gas sector will be used to ensure that every single Guyanese benefits. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank my staff from the Ministry of Natural Resources, some of them are here, who have worked overtime to ensure that we are at this juncture. And I wish to thank in particular the Minister of Finance, Senior Minister of Finance, who worked tirelessly to ensure that we craft a comprehensive budget that will benefit every single
and they flatly refused to fund the project, was reduced to 150 billion, with a caveat, sir, back to us and the National Assembly. We never, sir, know what a prudent spending, sir. Sir, I would like to move forward to July of 2015. So this is where it gets interesting, sir. A review of the product was conducted, sir, by the new, once the confidential, sir. They had 3 meetings with the opposition, but there was some information that was deemed too confidential to be provided to the opposition, sir. Had to be less, it would be $858 million US. And at the time, sir, they went around and the PR was saying, and you know that, sir, you were there, 10 cents US, not 10 cents US per kilowatt hours. That was what they were telling everybody. But guess what, sir? When they shared the information with us, sir, the tariff had risen to 25 cents US dollars when we got it. 25 US cents dollars, sir. What we're paying right now, what we're paying now, sir. And sir, they moved, and it's all here, sir. It's all here. And I can quote, sir, and they moved from saying it is a project to save energy and to get cheap electricity, and they described it now as a flagship for low carbon development strategy to reduce emissions. It's no longer about, sir, electricity costs. Sir, that's on the end of the issue, sir. We discovered, sir, in addition to the $558 million that they said, sir, we had the government again had to put 138 million capex for GPL. Sir, see the ministers there. Capex for GPL, sir, that's the GPL cost, sir, for the transmission, to make it available to distribution and transmission. $40 million, sir, US dollars, to buy down the equity of the sponsor, sir, and $3 million US. $3 million US for the relocation of 30 persons. So when we did the competition, sir, the project, this flagship cheap Amila project that they came up, sir, the tariff ended up at 30 cents US. That, sir, is why the project is dead. Sir, and I will go to what their rebuttal will be, sir, North Construct. Sir, the Ministry of Finance, Norway, and Natural Resources conducted a review of the project, and they employed a consultant, North Consult, sir. And North Consult said it was the most viable project. They said the Falls was prioritized as the first hydro plant because it was the only one with a full feasibility study. Because for the PPP, it was a mile or nothing. Just, sir, we have the got through nothing. But I'll come to that, sir. However, in 2018, the Ministry of Climate and Environment of Norway sent a delegation to Guyana. And they met with the government of Guyana and the IDB. So it is concerning the 80 million US dollars that was in the fund. The Norm region team came with the belief, as the PPP were shouting and telling them, that the Amila Falls was the only option. The government of Guyana presented our proposed transitional energy plan. The Norwegian team visited various locations, held discussions with stakeholders. So it was a 4-day visit. And at the start of the third day of the visit, the team leader announced that they had an epiphany. They discarded any idea of funding the Amila Falls project, and they fully endorsed the APNU's AFC Energy Transition Plan, sir. Mr. Speaker, the AFC plus APNU plans was to utilize the 80 million US dollars for 30 megawatts solar farm with 8-hour storage. Despite they begged, they pleaded, they threatened, the government of Norway has refused to allow the money to go back to the included in this budget document. Sir, the Myla Fall project, for the records, was not killed by the opposition. Far from it. It was stillborn. It died from malnutrition, sir. A lack of financial and technical substance. As well, sir, as bad parents. Issue and demonstrated the project. In order for the failures, allow me to address a few things in budget 2023. Public Works, sir. The Honorable Minister of Public Works in his presentation regaled the House on the size of his budget for miscellaneous and urban roads, made light of the money available, sir, to the then Ministry of Public Infrastructure as opposed to what it has in its details. We, on the side of the House, rarely acknowledge a huge amount of money available for the APM based on the production agreements, or the one that they criticize, signed by the APNU AFC government. Sir, as always, sir, the devil has always been in the details. And let me give you some details, sir. Special Projects Unit, sir. It was a coalition government that established the Special Projects Unit. Sir, in 2015, when we assumed office, there was something called a Force Accounting Unit, sir, and all that was there to do. It was under the direction of the Permanent Secretary, and it was there to provide general emergency works. Patch a hole here, patch a hole there, fix a plumbing leak, repair a leaking work. So the creation of SPU, sir, was done under the leadership of Honorable Annette Ferguson there. In 2015, in 2016, 2017, and 2018, $150 million worth of material every year. Increase the staffing twofold with engineers and semi-skilled workers and unskilled workers, and place it under the direction of the Work Services Group. And that, sir, is what made it what it is today. Sir, but here is the crux, sir. The minister announced that the SPU completed several kilometers of work, sir. He regaled us between 2022. But let us look at the coalition record for it, which had 1/5 of his budget, sir. Sir, in the minister announced in 2020, sir, they did 300 kilometers of work repair. 2021, 420. 2022, there's SPU, sir. 1/5 of the money. The 2017, sir, more than they did with the amount to double the money. But in 2018, sir, we did 450 kilometers work. Sir, it's all here for the thing. Sir, just for the records, I left this entire thing on the minister's desk, which, you know, you don't have to. It was on the... You can check it yourself, sir. We did 450 kilometers. Less money, more excellent value. Mr. Speaker, the minister boasted about the sums of money expended by the PPP on sea defenses. The Honorable Minister announced that since coming to office, his ministry, sir, completed 5.4 kilometers of new work, rehabilitated 1 kilometer of sea defense, and maintained 81 kilometers of sea defense, sir. But this was done to loud applause, sir, his colleagues. Once again, the devil is in the details, sir. But let us compare the APNU, AFC's government 2017 to 2019 track record. Without any other money, with 50th budget, sir, we did 13.8 kilometers of new work. 50.3 kilometers of rehabilitation work, sir, and 253 kilometers of maintenance work. Chalk to cheese, sir. Value for money and prudent spending. Now waterfront development, sir. The PPP never. We did so much more to a higher standard, sir. Urban roads, same thing. Regale us of what he did. Sir, this is what the PPP did in urban roads. Sir, 5 times the budget of the APNU. 2020, 6.4 kilometers. 2021, 3.6 kilometers. 2022, 18.3 kilometers. Sir, here is what the coalition did, sir, in 2017. 20.22 kilometers in 2017. 21.1 kilometers in 2018. Sir, of course, we fell down in 2016, sir. We did 16.6. Sir, in the 3 years, 2017 to 2019, sir, it's all here. The coalition administration completed 58 kilometers of road works in urban areas. Compared to the 3 years of the PPP, sir, with all the money they have, they've only done 28.13, sir. How is that, Minister, for lethargic and do little state? Mr. Speaker, one might be wondering why such a lethargic. However, one must just look at the voting patterns in urban areas to understand why the citizens are not being served efficiently, sir, in this biggest ever budget. So we go to miscellaneous roads. And he said, sir, the minister said that in the 5 years, only had 8.54 billion, correct? As opposed to his 45 billion, and he was like triumphant. Sir, I admit, they did more than us. But we, sir, as I said, the devil's in the details. Sir, in 2020, in miscellaneous road, they did 80 kilometers, that's according to the minister. Sir, with 1/5 budget, here what we did. In 2017, 32 kilometers. 2018, 60 kilometers. 72 kilometers. The coalition from 2017 to 2019 did a. Sir, and that cost the people of Guyana $40 per kilometer. Sir, the PPP have done, sir, the PPP has done 562 kilometers, sir, at double the cost. $92 million per kilometer. More than double the cost with half the quality. One can only wonder where the extra money is going. Mr. Speaker, what makes it worse, sir? What makes it worse? In 2022, sir, of the 290 kilometers of road, they said, sir, as minister, as brigadier, sir, only 55 kilometers were actually.
You're getting back your time. You're getting back your time. I hear shouts is stupid and are you stupid. The word is on parliamentary. I think Chief Whip's gonna contain their people.
Mr. Speaker, this ministry can't even spend the money allocated more funds. Money, sir, sir, for friends, family, and favorites. Now, I said, sir, as I said in 2020 budget, sir, are back in tongue. Interestingly, sir, one would have thought with such a great increase of money for roads in this ministry that you would have a accompanying increase in staff. Sir, if you look at the staffing details, sir, if you look at the staffing details, sir, the technical and the semi-technical people are bolting. It is not well, sir. All is not well in the land of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Sir, we will come to that, sir. I think about 44 persons that bolted, sir. They can't work under the ministers. Mr. Speaker, that may explain why it took the ministry 8 months and a personal visit by the minister to discover that a contractor, after collecting $22 million advance, never one day turned up for work. Of course, we're not surprised to learn that the contractor is a family of one of the ministers. Mr. Speaker, this ministry should be named Family and Favorites. Since every friend, family, and favorite has been awarded multi-billion-dollar contracts, no matter your experience, sir. In 2020, if you are a race car driver, no worries. You will be awarded a contract under the new Ministry of Friends, Families, and Favorites. If you are dealing gold and metals, no worry. You'll be awarded a contract under the Ministry of Friends, Family, and Favorites. In 2020, sir, if you were a joker on social media, no worries. You'll be awarded a contract under this ministry. In 2020, promoter, you would have been awarded, you will be awarded a contract under this ministry. If your son, daughter, wife, never built a road before, no worries. You'll be awarded a contract under the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, I put this time permits I come back there. Sir, Mr. Speaker, I want to go to transport and harbors. Sir, the Honorable Minister in his presentation provided a report on the achievements of transport and harbors. He indicated that all their liabilities have been cleared. On behalf of the staff of the Transport and Harbors, I'd like to commend the government for their actions. However, what the minister did not say, sir, is that the PPP are clearing up the mess that they created, sir. And here are the liabilities of Transport and Harbors, sir, at the end of 2012, sir, 188.7 million, that's the liabilities deficit. At the end of 2013, this here, sir, you'll have a copy of it if you want it. At the end of 2013, sir, $296.3 million. That's what it includes. So at the end of 2014, $258.6 million in deficit, sir. At the end of 2015, it was, in the whole, sir, you don't worry, $195.4 billion, sir, in the red. Sir, at the end of 2015, sir, at the end of 2015, it's all here. Transport and Harbors, sir, Transport and Harbors own NIS, $31.6 billion. And GRA, sir, $78.5 million. Sir, but it doesn't end there, sir. The coalition government took measures to reduce that, sir. At the end, sir, and I move on, so at the end of 2019, the arrears was only $80 million. Sir, the $390 million that the honorable member, sir, paid off was all down to his incompetence, all down to his mismanagement, sir. And they come and they want to be applauded, sir, for clearing up the doo-doo they created, sir. Sir, let us speak about dry docking of vessels, sir. And he made a thing, sir, under the coalition, MV Barima, Kimbia, Sandaka, Koala, Sabanto, Maruka, Lady Lord Court, Malali, MV Paraki, were all dry docked and renovated. Sir, we even took out the MV which was languishing for 3 years before we got there, sir, and put it back into operation. Sir, that, sir, is the records. Sir, going on, sir, the speaker went on to talk about the Linden to Mabura Road, sir, and we're pleased for the 116 persons, he said, sir, that have been employed. We're pleased. Sir, but the employment has absolutely nothing to do with the PPP, sir. This project was executed and designed, packaged and financed by the APNU AFC administration. Lock, stock and barrel. Sir, even worse, sir, when the vice president was the leader of the opposition, sir, met with DFID, sir, in 2019, he reported to them, sir, that he will squash this project when they come to power. And thankfully, like our Norwegian counterpart, the British government said, if you squash it, we will take our money. Sir, that is why that 116 persons, sir, are...
But I will have to ask you to provide that evidence, or else it's imputing. Okay.
Sir, I love the rap to continue me. Normally I get lots of heckles. Sir, the Wisman, the Kubukari Bridge. Sir, these designs for these bridges have been completed since 2019. Public consultations held with the persons Iroquois, the citizens of Region 10, Region 8, who give their input and their blessings. Sir, it hasn't started yet. Sir, even more, sir, the Honorable Minister, sir, was proud to announce that the PPP are building new offices to house 6,000 person workers away from the city to ease the congestion. What he did not say, sir, nowhere in the PPP manifesto, nowhere in any document ever produced or can be produced, sir, prior to now, that this project was ever there. Sir, where they got this project from, sir? The coalitions, sir, 2017, so they didn't even have a developmental program. 2017 to 2025, sir, developmental plan. Here it is. Here it is, sir. Entire new, sir, they didn't even change. They didn't even change the location, sir. They didn't have the vision of the thing, but it's right here, sir. And I challenge them to have them to come and speak about it. We did it since 2016. Sir, they have the money, all they did is pull out our program, sir. Mr. Speaker, time is going, sir. I move on to energy quickly. Sir, the coalition presented a comprehensive energy diversification blueprint, sir. We left that in place, sir. The PPP has savagely been following this plan and, sir, trying to take credit. Except, sir, the remodel gas to shore project, every single one of the energy projects has been conceptualized, designed, packaged with funding by the APNU AFC administration. Sir, the 1.5 hydro facility at Kumu and the 700 kilowatts rehabilitation of the Mokomoko, mentioned in the budget, fully conceptualized, designed, funded, secured, sir, by the APNU. Sir, the 1.5 solar farm in Bartica, the 0.75 farm in Wakenham, sir, the solar farms in Lethem, Madia, Linden, as well as the solar at Mabaroom, as well as solar panels for the interland community. All, sir, all were fully conceptualized, designed, including funding, sir, by the coalition. Sir, the truth is, sir, and it's all here, the truth is, the PPP are visionless. They have no useful or progressive ideas. Sir, but like parasites, sir, they exist and they extract from others, other people's visions and energies, sir. Sir, the coalition administration, sir, owner, what's the word? Owner The coalition administration included, sir, I must admit, a gas to shore project in our energy expansion and diversification project blueprint. Our proposal was to construct a 20 megawatt natural gas powered plant connected with the SPSO, sir, with a 12-inch diameter pipe, also including an LPG plant. All, sir, all of this for the total cost of $700 million, sir. Our proposal included every single aspect of the PPP's Wales Gas to Shore project, but at 25% of the cost.
Honorable member, you will need an extension to conclude.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, I do move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable member, you may continue to conclude.
Sir, I think, sir, time flies when you're having fun. Sir, the same operator who will be constructing the pipeline for the PPP, sir, was constructing it for her. The same size of pipe, sir. The pipeline remains the same. The size of the LPG plant remains the same. Sir, the only difference is the location and the PPP. These two factors combined, sir, has added an additional $2 billion and counting to this project, sir. Sir, in similar fashion to the Myla Falls, sir, the PPP has announced when completed, sir, the reason why I went through it is to let the people know what they announced, facts versus reality. And they have announced that the project will produce power at 20 cents, or 5 US cents when completed, sir. Sir, but they've excluded, sir, to mention certain costs, land acquisition costs, sir. They didn't put that on. They only, as always, they only use half the equation, sir. GPL, sir, I just told you, sir, the capex for GPL for a Myla Falls, 134 million US dollars. So they haven't included that in the computation. Sir, they haven't included the cost for redundancy, sir. Every year, the pipeline has to be done for 3 to 4 days for maintenance. Sir, the country has to keep powered, sir. How will this power, how will the country be powered, sir? Sir, you have to include the redundancy cost, but they didn't show that in the competition. Sir, just like a Milo when it said 10 US cents, that's transmission lines across. How are you going to get it across the Demerara River, sir? No one has mentioned that, sir. Oil spill plans, waste management plans, gas leaks, gas dispersal. Yes, sir. Before me, sir, with me, sir. And sir, of concern, sir. I love the silence. And I appreciate, sir, the adoration. Sir, of concern to us in the opposition is that the announcement that Guyana is expected to receive 17 lifts in 2023. Sir, in 2018, the government of the ExxonMobil, sir, presented to the government of Guyana the cash flow analysis which stated that the cost for the production of the SPSO and other associated costs for LISA 1, sir, was pegged at $1.2 billion, sir. And after this cost would have been recovered, Guyana's share of the profit oil would be 50-50. At 70 US cents per barrel, producing 120,000 barrels per day. Sir, they have now increased that by 20,000 barrels a day, sir, without even telling anyone. Sir, So they're producing 140,000 barrels a day, sir. The average price of a barrel of oil, which is 16% increase, average price now between 2020. Sir, as I should mention in this projection, which you will get, sir, so don't need to ask. Sir, the full payback, sir, right here. Sir, they're producing a 16% more, sir, which obviously at a higher baseline that they were projected. Sir, we're supposed to now, sir, I expected now, by now, would have been in the cost recovery 50-50 stage, sir. Yep. Sir, the government has failed to even, the minister has failed to even address that. Sir, they haven't even addressed, sir, the audits. Sir, it is our contention, sir. It is our consensus, sir, that by now, the cost for LISA 1 should have been fully recovered and the Exxon should have fully recovered their production investment. Sir, the country, sir, by now supposed to be enjoying 50-50 profit share on profit oil, sir. Sir, if this is not the case as it is now, sir, the government should inform the House on the status of oil recovery and cost oil for LISA 1. And when, sir, when are we expected to commence full equitable share on this project? Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, yes, sir. The opposition will support the government, sir, in any issue defining constitutional reform provisions that will result in a bipartisan approach to address our national challenges and opportunity. We will support, sir, new systems of government which will facilitate an equitable distribution of our national patrimony. That's right. We will support any budget that does this, that does not only look good on paper, but can actually input and raise the standard of living of our people in a real and tangible way. Unfortunately, sir, Budget 2023 falls short of these modest measures and cannot gain our support in the current format. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Patterson. I've had a request to have the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs. So we are going to have the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Brinley Horatio Ben, make his contribution. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. Mr. Speaker, I want to first off congratulate the Honorable Minister Ashley Singh, Minister of Finance, who has again exceeded all expectations. In bringing a national budget to this honorable House, which will clear the pathway for more and rapid development of our country. Exceeded himself, and I want to thank his staff and all the other persons in the ministries, including mine, who have facilitated this budget and its presentation. Mr. Speaker, again, as was the last time, it is exceedingly disappointing to come to hear the presentations from the AP and UAFC opposition in respect of this national budget. Guyana is at perhaps again one of its most propitious moments in its development. Its most propitious moments in its development. And the vision of the PPPC in government, based on our national motto too, and taking into account the challenges we face over the time that the AP and UAFC was in government, and taking account of what we need to do to carry this country forward. He speaks and we speak of one Guyana. We speak of one Guyana. And we know that we will not fail in this mission. And no person, in fact I could even go biblical, no weapon formed against us will prosper in this mission. None. No weapon formed against us in the mission of one Guyana will fail. Mr. Speaker, the presentations again suggest that I don't want to say that perhaps the AP and UAFC have again lost their minds. I don't want to suggest so much so that we're getting responses from people who are suffering from schizophrenia, paranoia, jealousy. This is what their presentations have been about. And I say again, that these presentations from the AP and UAFC are disgraceful. Disgraceful presentations on the floor of this honorable House. But again, it is their standard mode of operation. Going along with, and again they have the young brigade parroting what they say, going along with their disgraceful attempts of stealing the, well, let me say suborn, and I withdraw the word disgraceful, undermining our democracy, attempting to do things which a former prime minister of a country, of another country, spoke of a sanctimonious gangster, who was the leader of that party.
Honorable Minister, I was checking for disgraceful, I didn't see it, but I also won't allow it. But gangster and criminals are not allowed. Even if you're quoting, you can't quote an unparliamentary Honorable Manichan word in the House. Hang on, I will stop allowing.
Mr. Speaker, unlike all before who said they were guided, I am actually withdrawing those remarks.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the facts are well known in relation to the difficulties we've had in terms of restoring democracy to our country, in restoring lawful authority and governance to our country, in preventing a situation where we would have lost proper accountability and governance of our country. And hearing the presentations here again suggests that we perhaps will never have an engagement where there will be rational presentations, we will have a rational discourse based on facts, not alternative facts, or I don't want to say that word, not on alternative facts, but on contrived truths in relation to the development of our country, the performance and intent of our government in power now, the PPPC, and in relating to coming together in a national mission to make our country whole, our people safe and secure, and that we move deliberately and quickly on the path towards peace, prosperity, and further development. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe I'll have enough time, and I'll have to take additional opportunities elsewhere to answer the load of inaccuracies, the monstrous statements which were made in relation simply to the development of our country, but also in relation to the overall question of governance in our country. I don't want to spend too much time on the record of the APNU AFC in government. And if I follow the statements made by the Honorable Member David Patterson just now, I would need much more time. But what I want to say is, as was said before, in respect of energy, in respect of oil and gas, it was developed over a number of years by the PPPC in government. Janet Jagan, who they excoriated, who they were beating dollies on the road in front of the office of the president, signed the first agreement with with ExxonMobil, with Esso Exploration. And I believe I, as Commissioner of Geology and Mines, signed that document alongside her. Excellent. Now we have all kinds of experts here on oil and gas and energy and development. And when we were out there shooting seismics in the ocean and exploring the interior for oil and other minerals, we didn't have any interest in it, but we got all kind of experts on the other side now. When we did all of those things, there was no interest in it. There was criticism. When we brought up budget in the first time when the APNU AFC, I think they had a majority of one, they signed, they refused to accept a national budget. Again, a national. It simply states that too many a personal mission, only mission in life. Development occur in our country. And the Honourable Member David Patterson just spoke. True. And he has perhaps to vindicate all of the things he undertook in respect, not only in respect of the signing of agreements for oil and gas along with another minister who was, previous minister who was here, but also in respect of the Milo Falls project. Nor consult supported the continuation development of the Milo Falls hydropower project. We have the documents. He says he will lead, that is Honorable Member Patterson, he will lay his own easy over. But we need to read them properly to understand what is being said in those documents. But, Mr. Speaker, the development pathway, the development in our country was largely interrupted under the stewardship of the APNU AFC in government. They're talking about employment for all Guyanese all over. imposing VAT and other imposts on the people, they fired, I think, 1,200 young Amerindian people. 972. 1972 young Amerindian people, community development workers, all over Guyana. Mr. Speaker, our Amerindian people live the most precarious lives in Guyana. Our Amerindian people need the most support in terms of their development. And it angers and upsets me when people stand up and talk here about what they do and what they intend to do and what they should have done in respect of the Amerindian people. Mr. Speaker, what about the other people? What about the sugar? What about protecting rice during their time in office? The first thing they did was to knock off 7,000 sugar workers of all colors and stripes and races and ethnicities and religions in Guyana. An export project, and each one of those persons who was fired had 7 to 10 persons whom they had to support in the sugar belt. 70,000 people affected by the fallout onto the bread line. And here they talk about workers, the working class, and they talk about the Skeldon Sugar Factory. They talk about sugar, an export product for Guyana, and which had to do so much with the development of the country. Not to mention rice, where they promise $9 and $10 and $50,000 in Essequibo for a bag of paddy. And they talk about buying votes. Impossible in any place. And then when they took over, the rice collapsed. And then we sold some rice, and the people couldn't get paid for the rice. And they worry about and talk about the working class and the working people and all of that thing. They took away the AP and UAFC, took away the cash grants to children in this country, take money out of picnic them up. That's what they did. Now that we have increased it, they talk about how much more these things should go up and so on. And we talk about sanctimonious. Mr. Speaker, it was just said, Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you how much they really love people. They encourage the blocking of the river at Hururu, near Kokwani, related to Rusal. It was said by Minister Bikram. And, sir, it resulted 700 people losing their jobs, prime workers in their prime, the loss of product for shipment, for income to the country, and another 300 or more at New Amsterdam. And they said they love people. And I don't think I need to have to say what race or ethnicity those people are. They talk about how they love Region 10. And, honorable member, by convention of the House, of course, David Patterson comes in here and says, excoriate again, to justify, to vindicate the positions that the AFP and the AFC took on the Milo Falls project. Took the position again to denigrate the project. But Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the Milo Falls project was designed to bring 165 megawatts of clean power to the first town at a port in Guyana, which was the port of Linden. It would have provided the opportunity for the rejuvenation, the reduction in the cost of power for industry in Linden. It would have provided the opportunity for us to bring back larger stripping machines into the area and also to open up a new 1,200,000 ton alumina plant. That is what the Milo Falls project was ultimately intended to do. Reduce power by half and bring back large industrial capacity in Linden. But their honorable member, Patterson, would stand here again and excoriate the project. Pull it down. Pull it down. And so it was no strange thing that when they were in power, that the visiting committees from Norway and other places evinced that there was no government support from the APNU AFC for the Milo Falls project. And that the Milo Falls project was a precursor to a Tortuga project, which would have been bringing 950,000 megawatts of power into the country to reduce power, clean power completely. Mr. Speaker, I will not go into who built what and who built what. I know that we did the West Coast Road. I know that we did the East Coast Road. They took it over while it was being done. I know that the bypass project, Ogle, and the other places were conceptualized by us. I know that the government of India had given us money for that bypass road project, and it was never used. I know that the money for the new faster ferry to the Northwest District was there to be used, and they never used it. Never used it. The Honorable Minister, Bishop Ejil, stated that the ferry will come here just now, bringing relief to the people in the Northwest District and to bring back the Northwest District area to a place which will export food back to the capital city, to the rest of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the honorable members of the APNUFC speak about the temporary rise in the cost of living. The honorable members talk about the prices of things in border market, and I would think that any challenges, any rise in prices suggests opportunity. And when people talk about Bora and Baji and Pakcha and these things, maybe you should get your people to go and plant some of these things to take advantage of the opportunity of earning an income, of reducing prices and making everyone else happy with respect to the situation. But that is what will happen. But I remember when they took over at that settlement, they sent teams of people to come shallow beds, to come people's shallow beds. And they say you have to pay so much taxes from these shallow beds. They went into people's gardens. And some people got angry and they dug up the shallows and threw it away, some of it. This is how they love people. And Mr. Speaker, the former president of Guyana in the last dispensation went to a village on the East Coast where a young lady did fantastically well at CXC and said that the place where they mine the gold was great for them, but it done now. And there was a visible gasp in the room. Visible gasp in the room. And it resulted in persons from Anns Grove not going back to re-engage in the fields. And it resulted in persons, just after they took over, coming into the city and other places, going into people's shops, taking away people's stuff, and telling them, Grain just send them fit. Grain just send them fit. They stole people things at the markets in Robb Street and Regent Street. And they wonder about the question of collapse and the problem of youth and the problem that we have in bringing back our society to a question where we would all be safe. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the honorable member that I'm a geologist by profession, and I am legally and lawfully and professionally required to carry a hammer. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, yes, let's talk about public security. Let's talk about public security. Mr. Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, Ms. Geeta Chandan, in her delivery yesterday, said, excellent, that's why I'm coming back to it, said that people are being choked and robbed every second. Every second. Mr. Speaker, the simplest of probability would mean that as a female, the honorable member Geeta Chandan Edmonds would have been robbed 54 times in 2022. Choked and robbed 54 times in 2022. Yeah, I'm reminded that numbers are not the strong point of the APNU EFC. But that's the kind of stuff that they bring to this floor of this house. Of course, crime is a serious problem. And since you're raising the issue of crime, I'll go to statistics. You don't want the statistics now? No. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the statistics are ours and theirs. The statistics are ours and theirs. And Mr. Speaker, robbery with violence in 2012, in 2015 rather, decreased. Decreased from 2017 it was 143. In 2022 it was 76. Mr. Speaker, burglary decreased from 177 in 2018 to 108. Break and enter and larceny reduced from 926 events to 496, almost by half. Mr. Speaker, the overall decrease in the crime statistics between 2015 and 2022 is a decrease of 20.6%. We have reduced total robbery, serious crime, murder and violence by average figures of 20%. And of course, it would not have been reduced or recognized in your day because you're busy with other things. And Mr. Speaker, and yes, I heard about firearm licenses. And I'm saying again on the floor of this House that I will review all of those licenses which the Honorable Member Kemraj Ramjatan signed off on in his period. Mr. Speaker, we have always drawn the link between political activity, crime, and violence. And an honorable member who spoke before me on the floor here said something which would otherwise be monstrous. The honorable member, she said that it's only when the PPPC is in government that school is born. A frank admission on the floor of the House. So, apparently at a political level, in our discourse and what we do, that there is a rational beneficiary of the burning down of schools in this country. A rational, logical beneficiary. It was admitted to at that podium over there this morning. Mr. Speaker, so it's not no use to come here and express platitudes about the burning down of schools and the fact that thousands of school children and teachers and the other facilitators are at their wits' end, particularly the Minister of Education, as to where to house the students, how to make sure they succeed at the exams, and all the other issues relating to the question of education. But we could understand why we have some of these problems. It has to do with the example given by some of us in this House. If people see on the TikTok or on videos a school teacher from St. Joseph High School chasing people with a cutlass, we now understand why the schoolgirls are fighting in St. Joseph High School. We now know. And then, when at Mocha, people squat and take over and refuse for months to move from where development has to proceed for everyone, and where they were given the offer of a new house, they were given money to relocate, they were given other issues to facilitate that removal. They refused to move. And when you come and move them, and they fighting with the police with a cutlass, and ultimately they're fired, everyone is up in arms about the matter. But criminal behavior is criminal behavior, it doesn't matter where it comes from.
On that note, Honorable Minister, I'll strike criminal, but we'll need an extension to continue.
Mr. Speaker, I would love my colleague to speak for a very long time. I therefore seek additional time for him to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Honorable Minister, you will have another 5 minutes
Mr. Speaker,
to conclude.
time could not, given the issues I had to particularly deal with, to deal comprehensively with the issues of crime and violence. I've said that it has reduced. I'm saying that it has a lot to do with our support to the Guyana Police Force, with the provision of new vehicles, with new training, with new efforts in respect of crime and violence and the prevention and mitigation of that. I have said before that our approach now is a more empathetic approach, that we have taken the results here on the floor of this assembly to take less lethal resorts in the engagement between the police and the public. I am identifying that in respect of the Guyana Fire Service just recently and even now, we're working on bringing in, other than those which we brought in last year, 7 new fire assets to fight fires, along with 3 modern ambulances. We are talking largely over the country that we are pursuing a program called Increase the Peace. Increase the Peace, falling about the Citizen Security Strengthening Program, which started on the Clement Roy to increase peace in Guyana. But the first place peace has to be increased is on the floor of this honorable house. Mr. Speaker, we have had dramatic increases in the seizures of narcotics based on the work of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit. We have had more arrests done in respect of illegal, lawful activity. We have had, and I have to admit it, that we have had a tremendous increase in the prison population over the period by some 14%, 2,156. Presumably mostly bad people in the prisons. We're talking about putting in, with the new prison infrastructure that we're building at Luziknan, a school, a health center, a new women's prison. We're talking about having education for them. We're talking about a release program called Fresh Start to enable them to move to gainful employment, re-engagement, rehabilitation with the society and with their families. We will do these things. Mr. Speaker, we identify again that the problems subconsciously engendered in some people's minds in respect to lawless behavior, to not pursuing ambitious issues in personal self-development, has to do with political messaging of a negative kind. We say, and I asked before, that honorable members of the House of the APNU AFC separate themselves, disavow the remarks made by a certain person in New Jersey, on whose stage some members of the APN AFC were. They made presentation this year, where it was said, Georgetown must run down if PPC doesn't come out of office. I want the honorable member Raj Natan, as a leader remaining here, I don't see the rest, disavow those remarks, separate himself and his organization from, you must stand up and say it here in this house. Because if schools are burned, if public property is burned down, whose taxes, whose monies, whose effort over the years, whose children are inconvenienced? It is all of ours. Yes, we agree on that. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'll give away if Mr. Speaker, I'll give away if the honourable member will disavow.
Violence and destruction of schools. You could write it for me and I will certainly deliver it. Yes. It is.
With due respect to two of my long-standing colleagues, I will allow that exchange, which you guys didn't give me a chance to say yes or no to. And it will be in the record. Thank you, Honorable Kemraj, for that statement. Honorable, you get back your time.
Thank you,
Honorable
Mr.
Minister,
Speaker.
please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member Kemraj Ramjatan for that specific statement which is now in the Hansard. And I want him to make sure that he maintains that posture, that attitude, and that he spreads the message with those whom his organization relates.
All five of them.
All of them.
All five of them.
That this message is spread.
All five of them.
Mr. Speaker, I want to close on one particular point in terms of the overall aspect of how we develop our country and the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, many years ago, even when the political debate was protracted, dangerous even, there was a shining moment where the two political leaders of Guyana, Burnham and Jagan, had a tryst, a discussion, an agreement on a certain measure. And Mr. Speaker, that was to allow troops from a certain country to land in Guyana, to be refueled, and to fly to Angola and Mozambique, to pursue the eventual successful fight against apartheid. A single important and precious memory in the history of our country. And Mr. Speaker, it grieves me thinking of those things, that persons would stand up here in this house from the AP and AFC and say that Guyana is an apartheid state. Something was codified in the laws of the Boer Republic of South Africa. Something that volunteers from Cuba went to fight.
It's an insult to the real victims of
so that Southern Africa is free today. And we assisted in the initial response to fight against the apartheid regime in South Africa when they invaded Angola. So, I'd like to say, you know, when I was a little fella, I used to write on a slate, and I am sure Ramjatan and others too used to write on a slate. And people who would jump up and say, he's still honorable. He's even more honorable today. That an apartheid state, you could Google it. You don't have a slate to read. You could Google Wikipedia and see what apartheid means. And I am amazed that in this day and age, that people who have the benefit of Google and who could get instantaneous information will stand up on the floor of this house and say that Guyana is an apartheid state. It's an insult to the memory of the people who fought, an insult to Mandela, insult to all of those who fought in Southern Africa for the freedom of those countries. An insult to the memory of our Guyanese who's afforded the position to allow those troops to go. And some Guyanese even went there, and a few died. Insult to their memory. So, Mr. Speaker, if the members on the other side want to know how the battles for the liberation of Southern Africa, the release of Mandela, or the Battle of Quito Canavali was won, they must Google it. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Ben. Honorable members, this is a good time to take the suspension.